that depends on what you came out of, what you had to unwind. I would say that India had too much knee-jerk intervention. I mean, you saw a problem and you said the government had to solve it. Now, as a result, we led to so much governmental intervention that we allowed licensing of all kinds of things and so on. Once you have that, I mean, we were a bit naive. I myself was on that bus, actually, when I first went back from England. So I got off the bus rather fast after seeing what was happening. The bureaucrats loved the power which they got as a result of handing out licenses. It's not that they became particularly corrupt, but they enjoyed the power. And the politicians, of course, made money out of it, and so on. So we had, and some bureaucrats did get corrupt. As a result, the bad ideas we had led to a set of institutions like licensing, which led to their own lobbies and interests and so on, which then gelled into a very unproductive, counterproductive machine. When we came in and said, look, we've got to dismantle it, it's very hard. And now we've managed to dismantle a fair amount of it, but it's still some ways to go. Now, the lesson from this, I would say, is that when we think about things like corruption, for example, which, you know, all World Bank presidents have been worried about, and OECD is worried about, and so on. And we ourselves are worried about, actually, to the point where, I must tell you this, in my class when I teach foreign aid, because it's come back into as a topic. I used to lecture on it 30 years ago, 20 years ago, then I put it aside, and now it's back into. I say, look, are you with Jeffrey Sachs on Africa, where you raised the aid immediately to very high levels, 0.5% of GNP or something from its current 0.1 or something. So, you know, 4 to 5-fold increase, and then you keep it at a plateau. Or I said, do you think that if you raise it that fast, it will lead to a lot of corruption, counterproductive things, and then of course people will stop giving aid, so it will go down like that. So that's another possibility if you follow the Sachs approach of raising it immediately. And I said the third possible path is where you identify projects and so on, and programs that it's possible to do that if you put a lot of work into it and systematically do it, and you gradually raise the thing to 0.5%. Maybe it will take 15 years, but it is building on itself. And about 75% of the kids in a class of over 150 people chose the gradualist one. All of them said Sachs was going to go this way, and the most vocal critics were African students of slavery. They had seen a lot of corruption. They didn't want aid. I said, look, don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. You know? But the point is, why did this happen? Because we rushed in with monies without looking at how exactly it would be used. We wanted to throw money at the problem. We become a lot smarter, and I think the reason why I think some people like Jeffrey Sachs are such a big danger is because when real good Africanists who have dedicated their lives to Africa and studying it, you know, many of them in Europe and so on, they all are aghast at this notion that you can just throw money like that, and the kids, you know, the people there are. And so I think the real danger today in the West is that in our enthusiasm and our, you know, reawakened conscience to do things for Africa, which is where the major developmental problem today is, we may fall for these sort of pseudo-solutions which are going to be extremely expensive. What I like about someone like Bill Gates, on the other hand, is that he really, you see, he has an advantage over people like Soros, because Soros made money just by making money. I mean, by betting against the currency and things like that. He's made some money on the stock market, but not as much as he claims. He doesn't have any magic formula about making money on the stock market, but he's had some lucky breaks and so on. Nobody respects that kind of money that I know of, right? So I tell him frequently, don't spend your money on politics, because, when money which is not respected is spent on politics, people get to be socialistic and they react. But Bill Gates is adored because he's invented things, right? And so there is always this physiocratic notion that those who build things and do things are better than those who just speculate. So Bill Gates is exactly the man who is going along this path, in my judgment. So, and I think the best thing that Warren Buffett did was to identify Bill Gates as the guy who really knows how to build, because that's what we need, the partnership with people like Bill Gates, because we can't just throw money away, and we professors are not particularly good at doing. I mean, if I said I was going to do it, I mean, you should laugh me out of court. Though I can identify certain problems, but I can't do what Bill Gates is doing. So for Africa, we need less flamboyance, less sort of recklessness of this kind, less tendency to dismiss people who raise questions as sort of reactionary Republicans or something. I think that's not really a correct thing. I think we need increasingly very steady Bill Gates-like involvement, involving businesses which really know how to business of the type of Gates, not hedge fund types or Soros types, because that's they make money. I don't know how they do it, but this is not really. I know there's something like what we call in economics good and stabilizing speculation, but I teach it in the classroom, but don't feel it in my bones as much.